Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&As, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Hey Jason, I'm an advanced lifter trying to lose some weight. However, my lower back, upper hip area has been sore for over a month now, probably connective tissue. I'm 25 years old and I alternate squat and deadlift every other day for heavy triples. How long can I deload without losing any strength? Also, my cardio is 30 minutes stationary bike on lifting days and 1 hour on non-lifting days. Thanks. Body weight is 244 pounds. Started weight loss January 1st at 255. Lost about 20 to 30 pounds on the big 3 barbell lifts. All right, brother, we need to have a talk about this. You started on January the 1st. You posted this question a few days ago. Basically, 5 weeks, right? You're 5 weeks into a cut. You've lost 11 pounds. You're averaging about 2 pounds of weight loss a week. You've lost at least 20 pounds on all your big barbell lifts. You're cutting too fast. You are cutting too fast. You should not be losing strength. If you have lost 20 pounds off your squat and deadlift, you are losing muscle mass. You are losing muscle mass. I don't know how fat you were, and I don't know how strong you were. You could be a weak guy who's carrying a lot of body fat. You could be a really big, strong dude who wasn't particularly fat. But I can tell you right now, the rate at which you are cutting body fat, your strength loss, and connective tissue soreness, you're cutting too quick. You need to dial it back in, brother. In fact, I'm going to say at this point, this cut has been a detriment. You probably need to chill on your cut for a couple weeks. Stay at maintenance. Regain the lost strength, recomp for a couple weeks, try to regain the lost muscle and strength that you lost and ease back into a slower cut. You need to cut back to maybe losing a pound a week at the most. And again, this tells me everything I need to know. Rapid fat loss, loss of strength, you're getting soreness in your connective tissue. You are cutting too fast. You're not recovering. Your connective tissue is not recovering. Your protein probably isn't high enough. You probably got some nutrient deficiencies. You need to dial it back in, brother. You need to remember, when you're trying to maintain muscle and you're trying to maintain strength, fat loss is going to be a long, slow journey. You just have to live with that. That's reality. Otherwise, you're going to risk injuries. You're going to risk losing a lot of muscle. You're going to risk losing a lot of strength, and you're going to spend a lot of time rebuilding that. So again, come back to the point of, if you do it slower, not only do you keep your muscle and strength, you're more likely to keep the body fat off anyways. So rein it back in a notch. All right, next question. Hey Jason, I am limited to using Planet Fitness because of my location. What would you suggest for overall fitness, since they do not have barbells, only Smith machines, and dumbbells that can only go up to 70 pounds? You know what? I don't ever buy this idea when people say something like, I'm limited to Planet Fitness. No, you aren't. You're telling me Planet Fitness is the only gym within driving distance of you, walking distance, bike riding distance of you? I don't believe that. And here's what it would come down to. If you literally had nothing else but a little patch of grass in your backyard to train in, right? That's all you have. Or, let's say you live in an apartment. There's a little patch of grass outside because maybe you can't lift in the house. The amount of time you would take to travel to a gym is the amount of time it would take you to drag a bunch of plates out into the grass. You can go to Academy or somewhere and buy a cheap $300 Olympic barbell set for $200. Right? You can scrape $200 together. You could train off the grass in your yard with that and get better results, gain more muscle, more strength, and get in better shape than you could using everything available in a Planet Fitness. All right, I'm just going to be realistic here. A 300-pound barbell sitting on the grass in your yard has more potential than what they have there. People say, what do you mean? Well, you could do barbell complexes, you could do deadlifts, you can do power cleans, power clean and push press, power clean front squat, floor press, rows, curls, tricep extensions, all sorts of stuff you can do with that. You find a good chin-up bar to hang off your door for $30 you can buy at Walmart that you can stick in a doorway or closet or whatever in your house. and you could do chin-ups on top of that. Now, what do they possibly have at a Planet Fitness that could beat everything you could do there for $200 with a section of grass sitting outside your apartment and a chin-up bar in your doorway? Nothing. Complete waste of time. I don't ever buy that excuse. I don't buy that excuse. You can find a way to train. You can find a way to come up with a couple $100 for a barbell and some plates to play with in your yard out on the grass outside of your apartment if you don't have room to overhead press in your house. All right, there are no excuses like that. All those machines and everything else are a complete waste of time. Again, you could just train at home with a $200 barbell and a chin-up bar and get 5 times faster results. Make it happen. All right, next question. Rack pulls. Is there any real point to them? All you see is idiots at the gym lifting more weight than they can handle, an inch or so, and dropping it, making a lot of noise and ruining equipment. Do they really have any real benefits as a deadlift accessory? No. And I've covered this multiple times. The rack pull above the knee, these short range of motion rack pulls, have zero carryover to your deadlift. They will not make you stronger. They produce limited hypertrophy. All they do is load your spine up heavy, interfere with your recovery, and let you show off and destroy equipment. Outside of using them for grip training, I honestly believe above the knee rack pulls are one of the most useless exercises ever invented, and that's hard to do with a barbell. In other words, most barbell lifts by default end up being pretty good when you lift heavy on them. This is one where people have gone out of their way to invent a moronic, useless lift that somehow manages to use a heavy barbell for heavy weight and still produce inferior results. It's a complete waste of time. It's completely moronic. And again, outside of some very sport-specific uses, I don't think rack pulls, again, especially above the knee, particularly above the knee. I think below the knee they have sport-specific uses for power lifters that not everyone needs. But yeah, these heavy above the knee ones where you're only pulling the bar a few inches, like if you're moving the bar 8 inches or less, I think they're a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time, does nothing but destroy equipment and make you look like a jackass to anyone who knows what they're doing. And that's all there really is to say about them. All right, next question. I just finished first cycle of your intermediate program. My maxes are 170 kilo squat, 200 kilo deadlift, 130 kilo bench, 84 kilo overhead press, and 120 kilo rows. Decided to go with 85% from previous maxes, and I hit 145 on squat for 10 reps, estimated 193 kilo, 170 kilo deadlift for 9 reps, estimated 220 max. And he goes on and he's saying, look, here's where my overhead press is estimating at 133 max. I'm sorry, bench press 133 kilo max with paused. Overhead press estimated 86 kilo max. He goes, I'm shocked about the progression made on squats and deads, but shouldn't I have got more on bench and overhead press? I slept only 4 hours a night before testing bench, overhead press, and rows, but can that be the reason? Well, here's the thing, brother. You finish your first cycle of an intermediate program with essentially a 290-something pound pause bench, right? Same thing on this overhead press. You're estimating your max at an 86 kilo max. You're almost 200 pounds. Do you understand that you've made fantastic progress? That in a 12-week cycle, even though you came in tired and tested, and yeah, they could be down a little bit, a 3 kilo increase on your pause bench and a 2 kilo increase on a strict overhead press in 12 weeks for an intermediate lifter, what are you complaining about? If you replicate that 2 more times, that's going to put you to 139 kilo bench, pause bench. All right, that's 307 pounds. Your overhead press is going to be over 200 pounds strict off your chest. If you can replicate this again in 2 more cycles, that's less than 1 year into intermediate training, hitting numbers that for many people are lifetime drug-free strength goals. I would say that's a success. You did just fine. And you know what? You may have done better than you thought you did because, again, you only slept 4 hours. You don't know. You'll find out at the end of this cycle. Run it out another 12 weeks, make your gains and test and see where you're at. I think you did just fine. There's nothing to complain about here. A lot of guys would kill for those strength numbers, in particular to be able, if you can replicate them again in the next cycle. All right, next question. Hey Jason, can a recreational lifter get away with full body system every other day or 3 days a week with doing the same lifts, bench, overhead press, squat, row, weighted pull-ups, etc., every time with a focus on progressive overload and gain muscle over time, even though there isn't progress every session or sometimes every week? Or does a recreational lifter need to get on a proper structured program to continue progress? Thank you, Jason. No, I mean, if you're a recreational lifter, you could just do slow progressive overload and have weeks where you don't increase. You could do full body 3 days a week with those 5 basic lifts or so and do just fine. Put on plenty of muscle and strength. Would I recommend, though, at a certain point you structure them and actually run a proven protocol for them? Probably. It would probably be a good idea eventually. But you know what? I think a recreational lifter could probably do those lifts with just paying attention to recovery, volume, tinker around with volume and intensity a bit for a year or two and make continual progress before you stall and probably need to go to a more complex programming. You know, you've got the basics in, as long as there's focus on progressive overload, minimum effective volume, you're getting plenty of sleep and nutrition. I think you could make progress for a real long time doing this before you have to start periodizing or really structure your programming. You could do it for quite a while. And even then, it's if you don't structure it properly, it doesn't mean you won't make gains. It's just the gains might not be quite as quick or as ideal as what you could get if you structured it properly. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.